I met Julia in 1960 when I first came. She came to Helen Macaulay there, and I met her, and we became friends, and we spoke a bit the same language. She was in Paris in 1949. I was in apprenticeship, and in 1949 she went to Paris and worked at the Cordon Bleu. Then I worked in Paris in the 50s. In a sense, we spoke the same language, the cooking of the time. She knew the cooking of the time as I was cooking in the Plaza Athénée, Maxime Fouquet, the place I worked in Paris. So she knew the same chef and the same. So when we started cooking together, we, in a sense, spoke the same language. And so it was fun to cooking together. And we wanted to explain the same thing. I was probably too serious for her. She had done television. She told me, you have to lighten up. You know, this is television. People, you have fun. And which was good for me to learn that from her. On the other hand, I wanted to show the technique that we did too, and she knew that I knew how to do that. So she said, okay, make sure you know. But at the beginning of the show, she said, okay, what are we going to do? I said, I don't know. She said, okay, write down idea that you would like to do, and I'll do the same. So I wrote 100 idea, I think, recipe, and she did the same thing. I think 4 of mine made it out of 100. You know, it ended up being, and fortunately for me, as a professional chef, fine. If you put it in front of me on the table, I'll cook it one way or the other. You know, it's fine. But with each show, we argue a lot. We fight. I didn't want to do that. The turkey all disassembled. I said, I don't want to do that thing. And we ended up doing that. Or I said, well, do you want to do a show on hamburger? And so it was maybe the most famous show that we did, the Master Show. I didn't want to do a show on hamburger, and then after it was very well known. So she certainly knew television more than I do and what people would like, you know. And we started with ingredient, and we went on cooking and arguing, you know, spars if you want, even though she was, well, 23 years older than me. But yeah, we argue. Sometimes we didn't speak for like a day or two. We argue about everything, but we were good friends. We knew the importance of the technique, the importance of doing it that way. But she was certainly, we had sponsor, of course, like Land O'Lake, butter. So she would put a whole stick of butter. I put 1 tablespoon, more butter. I said, Julia, it's too much. She used more butter than ever one that I've seen. So one time there is the president of Land O'Lake who come to see one of the show. We taped it at Julia's house in Boston. So Jeff Drummond, the president, said, what are you going to do? I said, Jeff, I'm doing a dough to start with to do a big apple tart, you know, apple galette in the oven. And then I'm going to use the rest of that dough to do a chicken pot pie. We had chicken leftover to show whatever. And then Julia said, I want to do my own dough, which often happened like 5 minutes before we start. I said, great, terrific, fine. So we started the show. I did a dough, but I rolled the dough. She helped me, cut the apple, put it in the oven. And I said, now Julia is going to do her own dough. She said, yes, Jacques is going to do it. I said, okay, fine. And she said, I want you to do it in a food processor. I said, that's a good idea, fine. So I said, 2 cups of flour, a dash of salt, dash of sugar. I said, how much butter you want? She said, I want Crisco. I said, what do you mean? We don't have Crisco. The president of Land O'Lake is there. He said, we have Crisco. She has Crisco underneath a kind of. We did half butter, half Crisco. It's the only time in the whole series we use Crisco. We never used, because the president of Land O'Lake was there. So another time, the other sponsor was Jackson, Kendall Jackson. So we had the chef Jackson there with his wife Barbara Banky, who ended up sponsoring several of our show, and we drank a lot of wine. So we started the show. We had a glass of white wine. We went on cooking. We drank too, and we finished the show. I forget what we cooked, but I said, Julia, what do you think you want to cook? You want to drink with that? You want a bit of Merlot or a Cabernet Franc or whatever? She said, I want beer. And she had beer underneath. President of. I said, okay, fine. So it wasn't their style to cow to any type of sponsor, but sometime, you know, it was, but it was fun.